Welcome to Zeph's house. Come in out of the dark and pull the door shut behind you. Tonight's tale is called Come In Now. My wife has taken to calling me in from the yard again, every evening since last fall. That wouldn't trouble most folks, except Ruth has been dead 3 years. I want to start with the ordinary part, because the ordinary part is what makes the rest of it true. For 31 years, Ruth and I lived in this house at the foot of Coker Ridge, with the garden out back and the woods coming right up to the fence line behind it. And for 31 years, every single evening, when the light started going down behind the ridge, she'd step out onto the back porch and call me in. I'd be out there past dark sometimes, fussing with the tomatoes, and she'd put her hands on the rail and call across the yard the same way every time. "Come in now, old man. It's getting dark." Old man. She started calling me that when I was 30 and she was 28, and she never stopped, not in 31 years. "Come in now, old man. It's getting dark." I heard it so many thousands of evenings I quit hearing it at all, the way you quit hearing a clock. It was just the sound the end of a day made. She passed 3 years ago this spring, in her sleep, which is more mercy than most of us get. And the evenings after that were the quietest, emptiest thing I've ever lived through, because the light would go down behind Coker Ridge and nobody called me in. I'd stand out in that garden in the dark like a fool, waiting on a voice that wasn't coming, and then I'd go in by myself and sit in a house that didn't have her in it. The first time I heard her again was last fall. I was out at the fence at dusk, and from back in the trees, soft, far off, I heard it. "Come in now." Just that much. And I will tell you the truth, my old heart near to stopped, not from fear, but from a kind of terrible hope. Because for half a second it was her. It was Ruth's voice, come across the yard the way it had 10,000 times. Then my mind caught up to me, and I told myself it was the wind in the hollow, or a whippoorwill, or an old man who misses his wife so bad he started hearing her in the trees. I went inside. I didn't sleep much. It came again the next evening, clearer, and the evening after that, clearer still. And that's the thing I want you to understand, the thing that took the hope right out of me and left something colder in its place. It was getting better. Every evening that voice out of the tree line had a little more of her in it. The first night it was just the words. Then it found the tune of her, the way she let "now" run down at the end. Then it found that little catch she had in her throat, the one she got when she'd been calling a while and I hadn't come. Whatever was back in those woods, it wasn't remembering Ruth, it was practicing her. I remembered then what my grandfather told me when I was a boy. He took me to the edge of these same woods one evening, and he told me there was a thing that lived in them, older than the trees, older than the first cabin in this hollow. He said it didn't have a shape of its own, so it borrowed. He said it would call to you in a voice you loved and trusted from in among the trees, and if you were fool enough to answer it, or worse, to go to it, you would not come back out. He had a name for it. I won't say the name. He told me the only rule that ever mattered out here, and he made me say it back to him twice. You do not answer the woods. And whatever you hear in there, whoever you hear, you do not go in after it. I thought it was a story to keep a boy out of the deep woods. I know better now. So I stopped going out at dusk. I'd bring the tomatoes in early, and I'd shut the back door, and I'd sit in the kitchen with the radio on so I wouldn't have to hear it. But you can't not hear a thing you're listening that hard not to hear. And every evening, right as the light failed, it would start up out of the tree line. Come in now, old man. Old man. That was the night it got the name. And that was the night I knew, all the way down, that it wasn't memory and it wasn't grief. Nobody on this earth called me old man but Ruth. Not my mother, not a soul. There was no way under heaven for a thing in the woods to know that name unless it had heard her say it. And then I understood the worst part of all of it. Ruth loved those woods. 31 years. Every evening before she called me in, she'd take her own little walk up along the tree line, just to the big leaning hickory and back. Talking to herself, talking to me, talking to the Lord. For 31 years she walked the edge of those trees and said my name and called me old man out loud in the dark, with that thing not 20 feet away in the black, listening. It didn't take her in 3 nights last fall. It took her a lifetime ago, a little at a time, while we thought we were just living our lives. By the time she died, it already had every bit of her it needed. It started coming closer after that. The first nights the voice came from deep in, back where the trees go black. Then it was at the tree line. Then some evenings it was right up at the fence, close enough that I could hear it take a breath between the words. And Ruth never needed a breath to call across that little yard. It never crossed the fence. It never came out into the open ground where the last of the light still sat. I don't think it can. I think the rule my grandfather gave me runs both ways. It can't come to me out here in the open. It can only call. So it calls. And it isn't just her anymore. About a month ago, a second voice started in. My mother, 20 years in the ground, calling me by the name she used when I was small. Then a third I didn't know at first, a woman, and then I placed her. That was the Tatum woman, Coy Tatum's wife, who died the winter before my Ruth, which told me everything about what happened to Coy. He lived 2 hollers over. He lost his wife, and then that next spring he just wasn't around anymore. And they found his good coat hung up neat on a branch at the edge of his woods, and never found one other thing of him. I used to wonder how a grown man walks off into the trees and never comes out. I don't wonder now. I know exactly the voice that called him in there, and I know he was glad to hear it. So that's where I am. An old man, alone, in a boarded-up house at the foot of Coca Ridge, with the radio on loud, and a yard full of my own dead calling me in from the dark every single evening, and getting a little closer and a little more right every night. But I have to tell you the last thing. The thing from 2 nights ago that I can't get shut of. 2 nights ago, at dusk, the voices out of the tree line went quiet, all of them at once. And after a while, a new one started up. And this one wasn't Ruth, and it wasn't my mother, and it wasn't poor Coy's wife. It was me. My own voice, calling my own name out of the trees. It's done practicing me now. It has learned me the way it learned her. Every night of my life I've spent out by these woods, it's been listening. And I understand what that means. It means I'm finished being the one it calls to. Some evening, before too long, somebody in this hollow is going to lose the person they love most in this world. And they're going to be standing out in their yard in the dark, hollow with missing them, and they are going to hear me, calling them in from the trees. And here's the shameful truth of it, the thing I have never said out loud, because there is nobody to say it to. In the 3 years since I put Ruth in the ground, before that voice ever came out of those woods, you know how many people spoke to me? The girl who rings up my groceries, the boy who reads the meter. Thank you, have a nice day. 12 words in a week, and never once my name. Not one living soul has called me anything at all in 3 years. That thing in the trees calls me old man. Every single evening. It knows my name, and it wants me to come in, and it is the only thing left in this world that does. You sit alone in a quiet house long enough, with nobody coming up the road and nobody calling, and you learn that being wanted by something is its own kind of hunger, even when you know what the something is, even when you know exactly what it'll cost. So when I tell you I'd be done with all of it tonight if I were a stronger man, understand what I mean. It isn't only that I miss her, it's that out there past the fence, in the dark, is the one voice in 3 years that is glad to hear me come. Last evening, just at dark, it used her voice again, and it had her whole at last, every last bit of her, and it said the whole thing, soft and patient across the yard. Come in now, old man, it's getting dark, supper's getting cold. And God help me, I had my hand on the latch before I knew I'd crossed the room. I'm boarded in good now. I've got the radio turned up loud. I'm an old man, and I'm tired, and the house is so quiet, and the dark comes on earlier every evening up here under the ridge. I just don't know how many more dusks I've got the strength to keep from answering. That's all for tonight. If this one stayed with you, leave a like and subscribe. There's a new strange tale every week. Sleep well, if you can.